Sunil hurt my feelings.
Did he? What'd he say?
He laughed at me when I told him I didn't exercise. He laughed at me.
Right.
It's like, dude, I spent almost 2 years working. 2 years. 2 years. Grinding. Whatever. People.
He's just he was born with a metabolic advantage.
Is that yeah?
That's
He's
what it was.
he's hardcore.
He is
He is hardcore.
legit.
I told him, I'm like, hey, you have to hire away Monique, and they're like, okay. I didn't realize that he's like, hey, this is not going to be a thing, and he just took it as a challenge. He's like, I'll get working on it. I'm like, okay, we'll see how that works out. So sorry, Monique.
Down there, she's gonna kill
Sorry.
us.
Yeah.
I had kind of already set that up for you, but you know.
Set it up for me.
Yeah, I had seen PJ the other day, and he's like, you know, like what do I have to do? And I said, hire Monique.
Yeah,
And
I
he's
told
like,
him the same thing.
dude, what the F? And just turns around and storms off. Boys, introduce yourselves.
Right. I am Tim Iezzi. I own Izzy's Auto Service in Reading, Pennsylvania.
I just need to point out that
Right into the mic.
there was a whole deal where, like, I thought that was an L, not an I,
You're one of about 900 million people.
and I just like completely screwed it up over and over again. I take complete blame for that. I was the reason, like, your class books and stuff probably said L
We'll
instead
have
of
some
I.
words about that afterward.
Okay, all right. Ira, introduce yourself.
Ira Waldman. I own part owner in Mallue Automotive out in Manasquan, New Jersey. Besides, I teach with Tim, teach for ePromicon,
Yeah,
board level stuff, programming, and then regular diagnostic training.
right. So y'all have kind of taken the training scene by storm and have like rocked the training world. Where did y'all come from? Because y'all weren't in this, it doesn't seem, just a few years ago. And now like everybody's asking for your classes. What's up with that?
So I came from a place called Mechanics Education Association. It was MEA.
Okay.
Dave Scaler is the manager there.
Okay.
And he taught myself and a bunch of us how to train.
Okay.
You know, we all worked on cars, did wire by wire diagnosis, building classes, spending lots of time building classes.
Okay.
And the fact that we had our hands under the hood and we worked on cars regularly and did diagnostics, I think helped
Yeah. For sure.
tremendously.
So tell us what the primary stuff that you guys teach is.
So, with what we're doing, the two of us, we do drivability diagnostics. What we're teaching here is a class that Ira put together, then I added to, called Why Won't It Start?
Okay.
We have programming classes that we've written. Both of us do a lot of diagnostics, electrical programming work.
Right.
With ePromicon, we do the board level type work, programming control modules that the OE says you can't do, used module solutions, all that kind of stuff. Then on top of that, I teach for CarQuest Technical Institute,
Okay.
and we do everything.
Right. So tell me this. You guys are smack dab in the middle of the industry, and a lot of people look up to you. You have a lot of perspective of what's going on in the technical side of the industry right now. What do you think we're missing? If you could look at shop owners and say, here's the things that we have to fix, what do you think we're missing right now?
Two things stick out to me. One is the time for training. I come from the Northeast, from the Jersey area. I don't see the shop owners providing the training
Okay.
opportunities
Yeah.
for their guys. Some of them do. The good ones do.
Right.
The guys that are struggling don't. And I also don't see the techs wanting to take the opportunity for the training. Like every day, at least for 20 minutes a day, I do some kind of research, some kind of training just to better myself.
Internal training.
Internal training. I go home at night, instead of watching the news, I'm looking at a YouTube video of somebody. I'm on the internet watching one of my friends, like Tommy Oliva, do a module programming class, or just something like that, just to keep myself fresh and going, and
Right.
But I don't see that. I have a couple of good friends that are good techs, can't get to take the next step.
I see that a lot. Like, that's a deal, because we've even got shop owners saying, hey, I'm saying I'll pay for the training. I'm saying I'll pay for the travel. I'll take you to Las Vegas and take you to SEMA and Apex, which is where we're at. And I'll take you and put you in these classes. And the techs won't do it. Nah, man. Nah, I don't want to do
I
it.
don't have time. I have kids.
I got a bowl that
I
night.
had kids.
Yeah.
I had made the time.
Yeah.
When they went to sleep at night, I brought my lab scope home with the simulator and learned how to use my lab scope in my living room.
Yeah.
So just all kinds of stuff like that.
For sure. And I see that a lot. And now, culturally speaking, so I've got a technician that worked in New York City and lived on Staten Island,
where I grew up.
We very politely call the floating junkyard
Static Island.
That's it. And so one of the things he points out is that, especially in that area, there's a very big cultural difference from like my shop and some of the other shops around the country to there. And he said, 90% of those technicians are cash money technicians, and they work 5, 6, 7 days a week, and they work 12, 14-hour days, and they've all got, like, these shops have a very different mentality than what y'all do in the rest of the country. Why do you think that is, and is that affecting that in your area more so?
I think on the training side it's affecting it, but I also I just don't see the guys testing stuff, and I do a lot of work for other shops.
Yeah.
And I see cars that come in with the parts cannon just it's shot all over the place, and in Staten Island too. I initially my repair shop was in Staten Island with my dad and my brother.
Yeah.
So I started there.
Okay.
And we were different. I'm a terrible guesser. Terrible. I can't throw a dart to save my life, right? But I will test all day long, and that's how I train myself.
Yeah.
I don't see that. I see these guys, they just want to get them in, get them done, throw parts at it, and if it doesn't work, maybe they send it out. I don't know why.
We see
It's that Northeast mentality, I think.
Going back to what you asked about what's missing, along with what Ira said, reading basics. You see a lot of guys that either can't or don't want to take the time to read the service manual to figure out how to test the circuit.
Is it reading comprehension? Because that's something that David and I have talked about a lot.
I think for the younger generation,
Yeah.
I see kids get pushed out of high school, and they can't read. They
For
can't
the older
comprehend.
guys, a lot of the older guys too, when you go back to your generation, not picking on you specifically, Ira, but like my dad
He's
talks
calling
about.
you old.
All right.
Oh, I am, but my dad even talks about when he was in high school,
Yeah.
the kids that were pushed into the Votech, the opinion was, oh, he can't get a factory job, so we'll have him fix cars.
Right.
And I think
A
there's
lesser
still,
than.
Yep, there's still some of that pervading the thought processes of the guidance counselors and things like that. That this kid, he can fix cars. He doesn't need to know how to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Hey, I'm going to tell you something. The ability to write clearly, effectively, the ability to communicate, the ability to speak, everything comes from being able to read and comprehend what you're reading, right? And so, I mean, like when I was a kid, I loved to read. And it's probably not helped me that much, but like I love to read and I love to sit down, and whether it's training information or if it's something I'm passionate about, a random book, I can just sit down and read it and enjoy that process. But every time I read, I realize, hey, I was saying that word the wrong way. Hey, I didn't understand that word correctly. And so what that has afforded me is an opportunity, especially when we talk about service information. One of the things that I have learned through reading books and doing it a lot is to skim. And so now, what do I do if I open service information? I can skim service information. I don't have to read the whole paragraph. I can get to the part that I need.
You're going to trigger my tech. I skimmed too, and he's like, you didn't read the whole thing. And I'm like, I got the gist. And he's like, you got to read the whole thing. And I'm like,
There's definitely times when I think you should read the whole thing. But if I'm summarizing and skimming through that, I will find the direction and the information I need. I like to go to the heart of the information, pull that information out, and then if I don't understand it, I'll back up and read through the other parts, right? That's how I approach it.
Maybe.
When I'm trying to figure out which module has keys stored in it on a Ford, I don't need to read the entire description of operation of the security system.
Exactly.
I need to find which one says stores keys.
When you have a trouble code, and they have the trouble tree, which we all hate, right? The technical, the diagnostic
Replace
guys
with known
hate,
good parts.
But we can pick stuff out of it. We can skim through it and pick a spec out, or pick a circuit description out. I just don't see the guys doing that. And the other thing that I see on the northeast side, especially Staten Island, is the guy 3 doors down from you will patch you on the back and stab you in the back in a second.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Where I am, it's not that bad. My shop's in Manasquan, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And it's so different. But growing up in Staten Island and being part of that, I have a friend who does mobile diagnostics there, and he tells me the story still of the guys that I knew and the shops that I grew up dealing with. Insane.
It really is. It really is. And, Eric's talked about that, how they consistently had crazy issues from somebody running their mouth, somebody saying something, somebody doing something. It was never about taking care of somebody. It was always about covering something up and not really doing what was best for the client. And
That's a Northeast thing, though.
It is.
That's I don't know what to tell you.
Right. The focus was never necessarily on fixing the car, I guess is what I was getting at. The focus was make money and get the car out of my way. Let's move on to something else.
But like when somebody comes into my shop and says, hey, I went to shop over here and I still have this noise, and what do you think about them? I said, what I think is that if you'd like your car looked at, you want us to fix it, we'll do that. We'll tell you how much it is to fix it, and then you can deal with them however you want. But we're going to fix it. We're going to diagnose it. We're going to tell you what it takes to fix it. But I don't want to talk about the repair shop in Staten Island, in the other town. I just want to fix your car. I don't want to fix it right.
Because the bottom line is, we didn't see that car before they did whatever
so
they wanted to do.
we can't do anything. We can't tell you anything about that experience, right? And we all know how that feels to be the shop that's been done to, right?
Yes.
And then on the flip side of it is it is so hard to have that client standing in front of you that needs information, wants information. They don't really trust the previous experience they had. So you kind of have to tell them something, but you also don't throw the other shop under the bus. And so navigating, that's really tough because they can interpret what you said as throwing them under the bus no matter what you say or do, right? And so, unfortunately, I've had some situations where I've had no choice but to say to a consumer, I've called the other shop, I've tried to sort the other shop first and let them deal with it, let them pay for it, whatever we have to do, try and take care of them so I can go right back to the client and say, hey, there was an issue, we reached out to them, they took care of it, right? And like the last time that happened, the shop would not return my calls, they wouldn't return my messages. I knew the owner, he never would speak to me about it. And it was something simple and it was something stupid. And had he said, hey, I'll just cover the bill, I could have called the client and they would have been a raving fan of that shop. But instead, he wants to see everybody's competition. So when I plugged the alternator in and I didn't charge the client, I had to at least tell her, right? Because she says, well, what was wrong with it? I have no choice. I have to tell her the truth. They didn't plug the alternator in and they didn't connect the
Well, it could have
alternator.
come loose. You just tell them, like, hey, we had an issue with a connection.
Well,
we
I
fixed
did.
it.
I did.
Keep it vague. That's what I say. Like, hey, we had an issue with a connection. We fixed it. No charge. That's it.
So I also think on the other side of the counter, the people coming in, you have to have good customers.
Yeah.
Right? The customers are tough.
Yeah.
Their expectations they don't have any idea what it takes to fix a car.
Yeah.
You get a check engine light. All they know is the light's on.
Yeah.
Hey, the car was here 6 months ago. That light's on. It's back again.
Yeah.
75 things. It could be 170.
They just don't understand.
They don't. I think if we educated, just tried to educate your customers a little bit. I have a good service writer. He does a real good job.
Right.
Trying to educate the customers, but I think in the Northeast mentality, you see the videos.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Everybody's seen it, right? And stuff. But it's a different way of life.
It really is. It really is. And like I will never forget this, and I probably should not use the vulgarity. I'm getting ready to. Eric, when he first moved down, we're in the South. I mean, you know how far south we are. We're in the South, and this real country lady was there with her car, and she had bought this car from us, and it was a Sebring. And I said to Eric, I said, hey, that car came back. And as we go down the stairs, he's like, fuck you, mother, piece of shit. Of course it's fucking broken. It was a Sebring. What the fuck you want me to do with it? It's a fucking piece of shit. And he turns the corner, and he's like face to face with her lady. And I turn around, and I'm like red in the face. He's like, I'm sorry. Dude, he's never forgotten that. He will not let me live that down. He said, I have never felt so self-conscious and known that I had lost my job all in one shot.
All you got to know is how people drive. That's all you got to know. It is a contact sport up there.
It is.
It is. There's an opening. It's yours. Go. Because ain't no one going to let you in. Nobody's going to be like, hey, come on in. That doesn't exist.
Turn signals are a sign of weakness.
Yeah, turn signals are a sign of weakness. Everybody's going 100 miles an hour. It is brutal up there.
It's funny.
And they treat traffic like that. Their interactions with businesses, and here's the thing, like especially in New York and that area, the regulatory bodies are so oppressive. It is really hard for you to run a legit business.
Yeah.
Really hard to run a legit business. So if most shops are struggling. Most shops don't make any money. Most shops are going week to week. Most shops are out, they're just trying to get to payroll, trying to pay the rent. That's how most shops operate. And then you have the state coming in and fee this, and then you got to do this, and you got to have that container over there, and it's got to have this built around it, and it's got to have a cage, and you got to have this over here. And okay, I can't afford all this. And then, your regular shop owner's mind's like, I can't charge that much. Prices in New York should be $300 an hour, $350 an hour, $400 an hour easily, just to be able to pay for all the BS that they tack on top. So what does everybody do? They go underground. All of the technicians they're just cash, and they're the guy that shows up, and you pay them on Friday because otherwise they won't show up on Friday. And they spend them. That's how they are. You essentially took the Midwest roofer and made them mechanics, and that's how they are in New York. I don't know how you guys do it. You guys are nuts.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy.
Not that I want you to move out. You guys stay up there.
It took me some time to adjust. Right? I came from Staten Island.
Yeah.
I moved to Point Pleasant Beach, which is 180 degrees where I was, and I got involved in the community and became a volunteer fireman and an officer in the fire company. And in the wintertime we deal with local residents only, and in the summertime we deal with
New Yorkers.
people from New Yorkers that come down.
Yeah.
And it's just go back and forth. It's the people are just different.
It's jarring.
Yeah.
People are nuts.
But I love fixing cars, so it doesn't.
It balances out.
Yeah.
So something that we've been talking about over the years is the diagnostic process and the diagnostic thought process. And we talk a lot about training, and we talk about training technicians. And I'm curious if you guys see this too. I have seen two different types, or a couple different types of people, but there's two strategies that I continue to see come up, right? Spend a lot of money training a technician to do diagnostic work. They learn all this diagnostic work, and one of two things happens. They begin to do really high-end diagnostic work, and they spend days testing a problem because they know all these tests that they can do, and they never come to a conclusion because they don't have 100% positive proof, positive evidence that this is absolutely 100% what it is. Or we have the one who says, hey, I've done all this training, and the purpose of this is not so I do every test that I've learned, but so that I become efficient and I become fast and I can find the accurate answer quickly with what is it that you say, with all available evidence? How do we stop the situation where we get these guys who go haywire testing and they lose sight of getting the answer? It's about doing the test. Have you seen that? Have you experienced
Absolutely.
that?
So that's the part of it, I feel, is the trainers that you stand at that training.
Okay.
Right? There's two different types of trainers.
Yeah.
There's the guy that wants you to test everything, and then there's a guy that gives you a process.
Yeah.
I've seen both. I have friends that are both.
Right.
I think it's in the training.
Okay.
You need hands-on training. You need in the classroom training. I think it has a lot to do with that.
How do we break it out of somebody who is in that, right? In other words, we've got this guy who's already in there and he's going way overboard on the testing. How do we find a balance of that? Because I was talking to a shop owner the other day and he was saying, hey, I've got this problem. And he said, I've got this deal where I've got a technician. He's very smart. He's been doing tons and tons of training. But no matter what I do, it's like he is so risk averse because of all the knowledge he has that we can't make progress, right?
I think one of the things I've seen, I think I picked it up from one of the guys from the UK, and I don't want to say a name because I'm going to screw it up.
Yeah.
He said 6 measurements. When you're diagnosing, you get 6 measurements.
Right.
If you don't have the answer in 6 measurements, you need to stop and reevaluate because there's a problem somewhere. There's a problem either in your methodology or there's a problem in your knowledge.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't always work because you do get that car where it's like defies the rules of logic. And those are usually man-made problems, is what I find.
For sure.
Man-made problems defy rules of logic because man is not logical when he makes problems.
Yeah.
But you have to limit yourself and say, I'm going off into the weeds. That's when I need to stop, step back, go do a brake job, and come back to this car.
Yeah.
And attack the car the second time as if I've never seen it before.
Yeah. Completely reevaluate. I like that a lot. And so the strategy I've used in my shop has been the Dr. House method, right? Like, let's take a whiteboard and write down everything that it could be, and let's start ruling things out. Let's attack this with strategy, right?
How complicated of a problem would you have to stop and go, let's do the whiteboard?
We've had some. You know what? It's not even how complex the problem is. It's that a technician that went down a rabbit hole needs a little bit of a reset. So we walk out and we say, okay, all right, hang on. I get you're frustrated. I get that you're frustrated with your answers. Let's take a deep breath and let's write down what all our options are and let's start ruling them out, right? As opposed to, because sometimes what I see, one technician in particular that works for me, is they end up in the rabbit hole and they lose sight of what they're trying to accomplish. They get into like these test after test after test after test after test, but they don't understand the data they're collecting. Does that make sense?
They don't understand the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like we talk about that in this class later. We're doing tomorrow. Why doesn't it start class?
Yeah.
Talk about the rabbit hole. The very first car that I talk about, I went down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Right? Totally went down the rabbit hole and put a body control module in a Ford Transit, and it had a shorted mass airflow sensor. Right? I went on the. It was a theft issue. It was a start stall.
Yeah.
Totally down the rabbit hole.
Because we look at such complex things that we want everything to be a huge complex problem.
Because I missed 2 key pieces. One being a security light flashing.
Yeah.
Right? That wasn't there. Right? So I think if you take some time to do a little bit of learning of the system, I think just a little description operation, a little bit of what is going on, like what's happening, is it stalling, is it whatever the case is. Fuse blowing. I just think you need a little bit of background on the system will help.
Yeah.
And I don't think that some of the training that's going on, that we're limited in time too.
Yeah.
3 or 4 hour class, but I think you have to. I beat that home all the time. Tim does too. We talk about service information.
Yeah.
And do I know the system?
Yeah.
It's one of my pie chart. I have a pie chart. Do I know the system?
Right.
Am I using the right tool?
Yeah.
So I think that might help.
For sure. And I mean, like when you go back to D&O or you go back and look at the conditions for the code set, like if I'm working with a trouble code, that's like the first place I always go is I want to understand what causes it, right? Like if I can get that, Like, I'm 90% of the way home. I can go find, like, I can start ruling some things out with that, right? It gives me somewhere to go. But I think that we tunnel vision ourselves a lot of times. And the more advanced testing that we teach, I worry that in some cases, technicians have a hard time deciding, man, maybe I shouldn't go that. Like, in other words, if you drag the scope out on every single car, and it's a basic misfire, and you need to get a scope and a paddle and all this stuff. Me as a shop owner, I got to look at you and say, hey, man, like, I'm a little concerned we might be wasting a little bit of time here.
It depends on the car.
You see that all the time. Guys go, I've got this in-cylinder waveform. I think there's a problem here. You go, what kind of problem are you chasing? Yeah. Well, I've got a misfire. Okay, well, what other testing did you do before you did that?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do anything else. Well, then why did you assume it's got a mechanical problem?
Right. Like, why is this the first place we went?
Yeah.
This is crazy. I want to shift gears a little bit. I got a message last night. And y'all are both kind of shop owners / technician guys. And I want to see how y'all would respond to this. And he's a listener of the show. And this guy presents a problem that won't be the first time we've heard of this problem. But I just want to hear how you guys would solve this problem. This technician has been working for this shop for a really long time. He loves the shop, has been there over 10 years, right? And he originally had gone to functions and had gone out to eat, and they had gone and rode go-karts, and they were like a family. They went and did things together. They were a really close team. And the owner and the owner's son started going to a coaching company to learn how to better run the business. And he said, things really quickly changed. And he said, it all of a sudden was a very different environment. And he said, at first I was like, you know what? I can understand some of this. I get it. And he said, then things started happening that I was not okay with. And he said, the best example of it was a truck came in and it was a power stroke. When we come in, the guy's in a rush. He's got to go. He's dropping the vehicle off. He broke down. He's just on the road, and he's trying to debate, get a motel, get a flight. What do I do? And he said, the truck has a split in the return fuel line that comes off the fuel filter. So it's obvious. Like, you can see the split. You can see the fuel spraying out of it. The son, who is also a service advisor, walks into the bay, looks at it, says, that fuel line's leaking? Yeah, fuel line's leaking. He said, tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to order a filter. We're going to tell him it's the filter first, and then when it doesn't fix it, then we'll sell him the line so we can sell the filter too. And he said, it made me sick at my stomach.
Why would he present it that way? Hey, let's replace the line and probably
we should do the
throw a filter because while we're there. Yeah.
Right. Well, and that was, I brought that up, and I asked that question. He said, it's the little things. He said the whole mindset, the whole mentality in this organization has changed since they joined this coaching company.
You know what it was?
Completely lost sight of fixing the car. Completely lost sight of taking care of the client.
No. They didn't have any money, and they were tired of not having money.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing, but what do you do? So my question is,
the shop
you're in that
owner
situation,
did not do a good job of communicating how broke they are. For example, when I'm tight, I wear certain socks. Now those socks have holes in them, okay? And then,
hey, you walk around barefoot so everyone knows you're wearing bowling
No.
socks?
I thought we were going somewhere completely different.
My shoes are all slip-ins. So I just whip out my foot and I'm like, hey, just to let you know what state we're in right now. I show them my foot, holy sock, the whole thing. It's gonna be a rough week this week, guys. I need to bang out some work. And they understand. Now, they did not do a good job of that. The technician thought we're fine and we have go-karts. That's what he thought. And now it's, we don't have go-karts anymore and they're making me work really hard.
Let me just read the message and make sure I've conveyed properly. He says, hey, Lucas, I'm looking for some guidance as an employee that's been with the shop for many years that has recently gone deep into the beep way of running a business. How do I tell the owner respectfully that I feel like they're pushing the long-term employees out with all the new SOPs and beep way of running a company? I went from being very close with my owners and going to outside of work functions with them to now not wanting to go to work because I resent them so badly. It's sad because I've loved this job, but now it's got me rethinking my next step. You know, I guess my thing is, you know, my first question to him was, especially about the fuel filter thing, was like, well, do you understand where he's coming from? There's been times I've told the technician, no, I think you're wrong, do this. And there's been times I've been right, and there's been times that they've been right. So, like, at first I was thinking, he said, no, he came out and he saw the fuel line split. I'm like, I'm with David. Like, why in the hell wouldn't you? Like, if I have that going on, I'm probably replacing the fuel filter anyway. Because we all know that the 6.7s have been splitting fuel filters and burning down because they're splitting fuel filters. I'm not going to call the name of the company out that makes those fuel filters because they're friends of ours. But either way, be very careful installing fuel filters in 6.7 Power Strokes. They get these little pinholes in them, the seam on the crack or on the top crack.
Junk diesel vehicles.
I don't work on diesels. That's
It solves that problem. What would you do?
I'd go my first move would go to the owner,
Yeah.
the father, I guess.
Yeah.
Say I'm uncomfortable the way this is going, and see what his response is, and if it stays uncomfortable, maybe it was a one-time incident, maybe maybe he doesn't know what's going on. No, obviously the owner and his son, I hate to use this term, but I'm going to do it anyway, drank the Kool-Aid,
Yeah.
right? And they drank a whole container of the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
And you have to drink some of the Kool-Aid, but
I talked to, and we brought this up yesterday in the episode, is like, hey, how do you find that balance? How do you if you don't trust if you don't trust the coach that's teaching you and you don't take any of the advice they take, well, they're not going to do anything for you. But also, how do you not be the frog in the pot of the boiling water where you're constantly changing your ethics and your morals to fit this new thing? And it's comfortable because you've got greenbacks going in your pocket and you feel really good about that, right? So it's hard to maintain that. I talked to a friend last night who's been with this coaching company before. And he said, I'm going to tell you, you need to be very careful about what you tell this man. And I said, what do you mean? He said, if you tell him to go up and talk to them and say, hey, I question this company's way of teaching you, and I don't know that they're teaching you the right things. He said they have a protocol within that coaching company that says you're to terminate the employee.
Yeah.
Right? Anybody who questions, they're...
I think that was going to happen anyway. There's no way that
Sounds like it.
this is not going to shake out well. It's
Yeah.
not.
I agree.
What do they say, like in marriages? The minute that resentment comes into play,
You might as well just...
the marriage is over. The minute you start resenting your partner, it's done. It's the same thing here.
Yeah, I don't think it can be salvaged. But, I mean, in the same respect, if you depend on that job, right?
He's a technician. Go
if
find
he's a
another
good
one.
tech, if he's a good, if he's
Yeah.
a good tech, like Tim said, if he's a good tech, he's good at his job out there.
Yeah, there's plenty of jobs. I guess there's a lot of fear that goes into that, though.
Yeah, the fear is, every week I get a paycheck. I have a family, I have bills to pay, and
Yeah, but he can go interview, get hired on somewhere, and then just put your notice and leave. I don't know that talking to the owner is going to help. I don't know that it's going to help.
Yeah, I mean, if they,
Because
as
like you said-
said,
To drink the Kool-Aid.
yeah, if they drank the Kool-Aid, it's
Now, why they drank the Kool-Aid? I'm just telling you, they were broke.
yeah.
That's
I mean,
all it
that's
was.
true.
Now they have money. Like, hey, this is going to work out.
so it doesn't.
Yeah, until you trash your reputation.
I don't know. It just depends. You gotta swing pretty far out one way for it to all of a sudden become a reputational risk.
It depends where you are.
Yeah.
In my area, you can ruin that reputation really fast. We have a
And
shop
somebody's
that's
got to
working.
find out, though. They've got to find out.
We've got a shop that's working. That
Yeah.
changed hands recently, and you start reading Facebook pages,
Yeah,
stuff like that. They're working on building a not so good reputation.
Yeah.
yeah. We work so hard on our reputations, though, and work to build our reputations up. There's part of you that you have to step back and say, well, all of these other organizations that are these turn and burn shops, they have terrible reputations. They're still making money
they're
hand
busy.
over. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
just packed full.
Still got
Now,
cars.
I'll say that the client that wants that experience is not a client that I could personally tolerate on the front counter. Right?
They're
And
the
That's not
shop
always the
for
case.
this. they're the shop for the person that buys auto repairs like they buy groceries.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. And the person that wants to buy auto repair as a commodity is not the person that you want in your shop, or you want in your shop, or I want in my shop, because they don't see the value that being able to diagnose the car right the first time brings.
Yeah.
They see the bottom line.
Right.
Did the technician? I mean, there's three sides to every story.
Yeah.
Right there, his side, there's their side, there's
The truth
side.
somewhere.
So,
yeah.
how has been the quality of his work? Has he been doing okay?
Yeah.
Is that part of the problem? I'm not trying to bash the technician at all. I just
I asked some questions around that. Not quite as blunt in the conversation, but I did ask some questions about that. And he pointed out that recently they've got a GS they're trying to train up. And so now that GS has started getting more and more of his work while he's standing around, and he doesn't have any work to do. And he said, now I'm paid salary. And I said, with this particular coaching company, with you paid salary, they are looking for a way to get rid of you. And that's probably why this is happening, right? Because
some underlying.
Yeah. This particular company, they, and I have seen this with a lot of technicians recently, is a shop owner will go and hire a technician and they will severely overpay them, right? Or overpay them according to a coach's standards. They hire the coaching company and the coach says, no, you got to get rid of them. You either have to lower their pay or get rid of them. And it's easier to get rid of them than it is to lower their pay.
Nobody wants to pay lowered.
I know, right? David, you ever lowered anybody's pay? You ever had?
I have, yeah. 100% I have. The issue, again, it comes back to they paid this guy's salary. I don't know. I don't understand what are these technicians. Like, at the end of the day, it's financials. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's financials. Like, it's great. It's like, oh, I'm making X amount of dollars. This is fantastic. It's salary. I get it. Pay the same paycheck every single week. It's like, okay, great. How many hours did you turn last week? 22? How do you think this is going to shake out?
Yeah.
How do you think this is going to shake out?
It can't shake out for long.
It's not going to.
Got to give.
Something is going to give. Either there's somebody on somewhere in the shop that is making up the difference. But if everybody in the shop is banging out 22 hours, something's going to break.
Yeah.
And
the shop cannot sustain it.
The shop cannot sustain it. Now, the owner might be taking a pay cut and just dealing with it, and it's fine. Or they're shortchanging, not paying their taxes, not paying vendors. Something is giving up somewhere, and it's only going to go for so long until they reach out to the coaching company. The coaching company looks at the financials and goes, you got to either switch them to flat rate, or you need to lower their salary. You got to get rid of them. It can't work out this way. The numbers don't work.
We're going through this with the family business, right? Because payroll, like in most any business, but specifically the family business, you don't really want to see above 25% of your gross income going to payroll, right? Now, they were at 84, and then they got down to 65, and then the hurricane hit, and the governor and everybody else said, Western North Carolina's closed. You're out. Don't go up there. Well, October's our busiest month. And so a month that should have been a $350,000 month was a $20,000 month.
Experience that.
Some particular person continued to pay them and their family full payroll, and it was like $9,000 a week. And so
With no revenue coming in.
Yeah. And so you look at that, and the very first thing that the coach did when he started working with my family on the business, the coach came in and said, like, hey, this has to be below this number. Like, the business won't survive if it's above 30%. Like 25, cool, whatever. But 70%? Nah, bro, we're not. Like, you don't understand. The reason you didn't pay your taxes is because you didn't make any money because you paid everybody else, right? There's no money left. And
Also, taxation is left. Do you guys have both brick and mortar businesses?
Yes.
Like you have employees and your...
Yes. I have no employees. It's me and my dad.
Okay.
Because I'm a really good tech. I am a horrible manager, and I have no desire to manage people and deal with human resources and all of that kind of crap.
Yeah.
So what? I guess you're just the primary tech, and he's service advisor, or what?
We both work in the shop.
Okay.
We both have stuff that we're good at.
Okay.
We have a very complementary skill set. What my dad says is he got tired of trying to find someone that could work with him and be a good tech, so he grew one, literally.
Literally. Literally. What's your vision for the future of the business? And did he start the business?
My grandfather started a business.
Okay.
And he started our business after working in this shop that was started by his grandfather.
Holy cow.
I mean, we legitimately go back to the beginnings of the automobile. We started selling gasoline out of bakery.
Holy
when
cow.
Cars started coming around, and it turned into a Dodge dealership and kind of went from there. I don't foresee my business getting bigger than me.
Okay.
Because I don't. I like fixing cars. I don't like managing people.
Where are your customers coming from? Like, where?
So, similar to Ira, I have a fair number of shops I work for.
Okay.
We have a very long, we've been in business for 64 years.
Yeah.
We have a very loyal local customer clientele. We have a very good relationship, and we can fix cars.
Yeah. So is it mostly B2B then?
No. I'd say it's probably 20 to 30% B2B and the rest regular customers off the street. Not counting the work that other shops send us, where they send us the customer.
Sure. Are they sending you the customer or the car?
A fair number send us the customer.
Really? They don't want to deal with it?
How do you... So my question is, and this goes back to a conversation we had with Nathan Bryan a while back. How do you avoid it becoming a job if you're not going to grow
How is
it
it now
beyond-
a job? It is a job. It's a job.
Well, I
Nothing
know,
wrong
but
with it, Donna.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but what protections do you put in place if it is going to be a job to ensure that you're protected if anything ever happens? What have you done to kind of protect yourself?
It's a good question. And not much.
Yeah, but what protections you're working? I'm working at Lucas's auto repair business. What protection? I'm fixing cars, and then I get hurt, and then what? You keep paying me?
I can tell you, a couple of years ago when I have a business partner.
Yeah.
And we recently hired a service advisor / technician.
Right.
I do light service.
Yeah.
But maybe 5 years ago, I had shoulder surgery and a heart attack within 3 months.
Oh,
wow.
And I was out of work for probably 10 months. Totally unprepared. I mean, 100% struggling every day. I mean, just, workers' comp only goes so far.
Yeah.
That's where corporations.
Yeah.
But so I prepared. Right? I took it upon myself. I work as hard as I can.
Yeah.
And I have a year's salary put away.
Okay.
Above and beyond my, paying my regular bills. If something happens,
See, that's what I'm talking
buy
about.
myself a year to. I can't go out to dinner as much as I do in that year, but
Yeah.
but I can survive and pay
Yeah.
my bills for a year. That was an eye-opening experience.
Yeah, for sure.
And in the building that I'm in, we share with an auto parts store.
Okay.
They've been around for 1,000 years.
Right.
At some point in the next couple of years, they're going to close.
Yeah.
They're going to sell the property, which is worth millions of dollars, much more than I could afford. So I'll have to move again or do something different, but I'm prepared.
Yeah. You've got something put back.
That was such an eye-opening experience.
Well, and that's my fear, right? And that's one of the reasons like I hired Chris to manage the shop is that if something happens to me, like we're not in a spot that even with my life insurance, Alex could just say, no, I'm done with it, right? The business would have to run and she doesn't want to run it. So I have to have a contingency plan and people that know how to run the business besides me, right?
I'm gonna tell them they'll just light my building on fire, just burn it to the ground. It'll be
Right.
fine. That's my black book, by the way. When I die, my wife's gonna open it and just burn it down. She'll be like, okay.
Sure.
You have the note on there, make sure the fire insurance is paid first.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's true. I should probably do that. Okay, make sure it's up to date. Then burn it down.
I didn't hear any of that, just so that you.
What's that? I'm joking. They're just jokes, people. They're just jokes.
2 days later.
Oh man, I would hope so. That'd be awesome. You kidding me?
But now, along those lines, to what Ira said, I have disability insurance.
Yeah, so
Money
that's
set
kind of what I
aside.
was getting at.
Make sure that we try to keep our debt load in the business as low as possible. Like right now, my total debt load is something like $2,000 to tool trucks, and that's all the money my business owes. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than putting savings aside like you have, I don't think there's much else you can do.
No, the disability is a big one. Aflac, there's a lot of people who utilize Aflac. There's key person insurance for a business. So you can add key person insurance. That way, if something happens to you, it actually reimburses the business for up to a certain amount. And a lot of people, if they're in a situation like you guys, they'll set that to the average income of the business. And so that way, if something happens to them, it's not like the income just stops. You pay a technician to come in and clean up the remaining things. You take that money while you can, and you begin to, with no debt, you can just pay off your debt and walk away. And
or you create different lines of income. I think that's the safer thing. You find different ways to bring in cash.
yeah,
It's far harder to make $100,000 a year with one income stream than with 5 income streams. And they're all paying you $20,000 a
Like
year.
I've taken on cloning,
yeah.
programming, keys,
Yeah,
all
Doing
added.
more teaching.
We're doing more teaching.
yeah.
Tim and I started our own training company.
Yep.
So
Expert Tech Automotive Training.
Nice.
yeah, so we're, I don't want to turn wrenches forever.
Yeah.
And also, if something happens, I need other
A way
stuff
to-
coming in.
Yeah.
I've
And
watched
let's-
friends
yeah.
go through it too.
And let's be honest, we got to do something because none of us has the bodies for OnlyFans.
I know, right? I mean, David says he's got a fan or two, but I don't.
I show my nipples on the internet. What's wrong with that?
I mean, I probably.
Hey man, $20 is $20.
20
That's
bucks
right.
is 20 bucks, bro.
I would probably be less concerned if it wasn't Dutch that was your only fan. That would be a little.
OnlyFans is saturated. You gotta find something
Find a
easier
new
than
niche.
that.
Yeah. What is it? The foot one? But I had
Just
the,
pictures of feet.
Yeah.
So how about that local sports team? I don't need to listen to
Yeah, we don't need
No,
to talk about
I,
it. So-
I had a service advisor that she was that was one of the things she said. She said, "Look, if I can make $500 a week showing my feet to people," and so one of the guys in the shop, he said, like, "Look, dude, I will go get a one of those like little foot services and get my feet cleaned up." He's like, "You think for a second I won't paint my toenails?" He's like, "They'll never know the difference. It'll be fine."
That's good.
Just remember, dudes, if you're paying for OnlyFans feet, that might be a dude's feet you're looking at. You never know.
I guess those people buy. She was saying they would like pay for socks and shoes and all kinds of stuff. And so
Undergarments.
yeah,
all kinds
like
of crazy
I
stuff.
guess when those
my
socks
goodness.
come in and they smell like a shop. Why does that smell like diesel fuel?
So messed up.
That's why David wears the holy socks. You can sell them when he's done.
That's exactly.
I don't
right.
think anybody wants my holy socks. They're comfortable socks. They're the Redbacks. Have you worn Redback socks? Redback socks? Redback socks?
I'm a Snap-on socks guy.
Oh,
do
no,
like my
no, no.
Snap-on
I'm
socks.
just telling you right now, Snap-on socks are nowhere near the comfort of a Redback sock. The only problem is the heel does not hold up. And if you're a bigger guy and your feet's just smashing into that heel, it does wear out. But they stay soft forever. Snap-on socks are nice. Brand new. Brand new, put them on. They're nice and soft. One wash, and they turn into sandpaper. Not these Redbacks. They're like
I'm gonna have to remember that.
alpaca
Redbacks.
wool or something. I don't know what they're made out of. They're made out of magic. They're so soft, and they're breathable, so they don't make your feet hot. They're so good. 10 out of 10. Would recommend.
Came to Vegas, got to do the podcast, and I learned about socks.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, hey,
How
we're
cool is that?
we're moving up in the world.
You know what I
man.
told
Like,
my
this
wife
is-
to do? I told my wife, she has these nails that like they glue on.
Yeah. My
Okay.
wife was asking what, like, I was supposed to call and ask you to ask what kind she had because she was saying they were like super
I'll
reliable.
find out. I don't know anything about this
I don't
nonsense. Anyway, she will spend hours just messing with those stupid nails. Like she's in there and because you got to prep it and then you got to glue them on, whatever. I said, hey, can I set up a camera? You don't have to show your face. I'm just going to shoot it down and just do it under the camera. Can you do that? And she's like, why? And I'm like, I'm going to put it on YouTube. It's just going to be a light tutorial. That's it. So you can talk over it. I'll record you talking and you can, as you're doing the whole thing. And then you can just do a little review because there's 18,000 different varieties of, I like this color, I like this shade, I like this, I don't know, nails, whatever. It's weird. But she's like, so you would record, like, people would watch it? Like, yes, people will 100% watch you putting your nails on. You're doing it for free right now. Let's get paid to do it. I'm like, it'll cost me $1,000 in equipment, and then we can go. Let's do this. And she's like, maybe. I'm like, okay.
That's better to know.
Yeah, that's better to know. I'm excited because if she 100% do that, I will set it up. I will 100% set it up.
Changing the nail industry.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
I will trust me in the Facebook group. I will spam the crap out of that YouTube. New nail video just dropped. Let's do this.
You're gonna find some people watching.
Click
your
the
wife's
links in the
video.
description.
You're gonna find some people watching that video that are watching it for a very different reason.
Yeah.
Man, they're in the hands because you're not going to see her face or like you're
Well,
just
I know.
going
I'm
to see
just
this.
saying,
It's
if
just
you're
this.
sharing it in our Facebook group and they know it's you sharing it, like all of a sudden
care.
we're gonna go to an event, they're gonna be like, "Hey, dude." That would get uncomfortable quick.
Nah, I'd be down. It depends how much money is coming in. I'm good with it.
At the end of the day, it's all about the money.
That's right.
Hey,
right.
it's multiple revenue streams.
Yeah.
It's multiple revenue streams.
I'm going to tell you something. That there's a friend's wife utilizes OnlyFans, and this cat has a new truck a year, and they have an unbelievable house. I'm
uncomfortable with my wife showing her beehole on the internet.
Obviously, I wasn't saying anything about your wife, dumbass.
Well, his wife, I don't know. He's like, oh, I got a truck. It's like, okay, great. Anyway, I can see your wife's beehole for $5 a month.
And look, I'm just telling you that they are supremely wealthy because of this.
No.
And
no.
Can't
do it.
I'm not even saying that she, I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying maybe not like top tier, way up at the. I felt a little discriminated against because if I got on there and tried to show anything, like I'm not going to make any money.
See, you have that idea all wrong. For guys like us, it's you put stuff out there and you make people pay you to put your clothes back on.
Ah, yeah. See, I could probably pull that off. That might work.
You guys ever seen the Shane Gillis skit where the dad's on OnlyFans and the family walks in?
Oh yeah.
And he's got the laptop on the ground and he's sitting on top of a thing and it's like vibrating and stuff. And he's like, and the comments are popping up and they're like, Dad, what are you doing? He's like, it's been a really rough economy. How do you think? Like, how do you? Like, what's going on? It's like, yeah, they pay $25. It controls the thing I'm sitting on. And it's like, oh my God. Like, I need to go pay for your college and this house and these cars.
David watched that and instantly thought, well, hey, $25 times.
There's no market for it, dear. Yeah, I'm just telling you right now, there is no market for it. What's that?
There's not enough money in the world for me to do that.
If there was a market for it, I don't know. I'm just telling you. I'm not saying I'd go in that direction. I'm just saying I think you would see a lot of dudes jump on it if there was a big market because you see a lot of women because the market's there. Just average women are making $100,000 a year. They're not even in like the top 10% of earners, but they're in that middle tier.
How did we get so far into this OnlyFans?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it was my friend's wife was making $2 million a year on a.
Okay, that's a top earner.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of girls making $50,000 to $100,000 a year, and they're choosing to show their beeholes on the internet. Supposed to go work at Walmart. And I'm telling you, all I'm saying is, if dudes could make $50,000 a year, versus turning wrenches.
That market would be super
It
saturated
would be,
overnight.
every dude would be walking around with his OnlyFans.
I know, right?
Well, there's that gal. What's her name?
Is that a 10 or a 12?
The Snap-on girl?
Snap-on girl, yeah.
Oh, Chris Enright really, really, really dislikes her a lot.
It's slimy. It is, because you're like, put a dude in that like same script, same everything. Put a dude there, and ain't no one watching. Put a girl with more clothes on.
No one's watching.
No one's watching. And I would even say take the filter off, and you're probably going to drop 30 or 40% of the views.
You think so?
Yes. I don't know how does anybody watch that and go, that's real. That's not at all a filter. People look like that for real. Get out of here. No wrinkles, really. No blemishes. Everything's just smooth like that. Really?
There's lots of aftermarket parts for all that stuff. That can be installed.
Even aftermarket parts, though, it doesn't look like that because they're just walking around in Vegas.
need filters.
And there's lots of women with aftermarket accessories all up in their faces. And you can tell nobody's born with lips like that. That's ridiculous. You look stupid. The duck lips. You know, my son does the best duck lips because he thinks it's funny. So the girls walk around with the duck lips. And we're not going to offend anybody. 97% of the listeners are male. Anyway, but if your girlfriend's got duck lips, I'm sorry. Anyway, so he thinks it's the funniest. He'll stick his tongue he'll flip his bottom lip down. He'll stick his tongue up. It is the funniest thing. So like do the duck lips. He's like.
We've seen a lot of duck lips here.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot. It's a thing. I don't understand. Who are they doing it for?
I don't think it looks good.
No, it does not look
I've
good.
never met a dude that thought, do you like the duck lips? Maybe you're the one guy.
No, I'm definitely not.
No. Nobody likes the duck lip. They do it for other women. I'm just telling you right now. Yeah, 100%. They're doing it for other women. They're like, hey, that woman will be jealous of my duck lips. I'm going to put the duck lips on. It's like, okay, but does your husband like it? What? Who? No, I don't care. Duck lips. I don't get it.
We do. We just don't get paid for it, right? You can't roll into the shop with the Harbor Freight toolbox, right?
As soon as someone gets a bigger toolbox than you, it's...
You have to have the snap-on tool.
Yeah.
The back tool.
No. At my shop, it's the other way around. It's like, who can manage with less? They're like, I'm not buying that toolbox. I have a bag. I don't have a bag. I got a grocery bag. I throw mine
in
into
France,
a
they're going
bucket.
to charge you 70 cents for that.
They have a bucket. That's where they pull the tools out of. It's a race to see who can buy less equipment. So I end up buying the stuff for them.
Yeah, I try.
It's like, hey, here's a tool. Like, you should use this tool. Like, where'd you buy that? We're using zip ties. It's okay. It works just as well. I'm like, okay, great. Anyway, you know what I wanted to ask Frank Scandura?
What?
How he feels about Amazon European timing tools.
How do you feel about Amazon European timing tools?
I'm the wrong
He's
person
the wrong
to ask.
person to ask, but I've used quite a number of Amazon European timing tools.
It's like $60 for the kit you're never going to use again?
The $18 Chrysler 3.6 timing set?
Dude, I've only had one issue using Amazon timing tools, and that was a Volkswagen that one of the TDIs that the cam lock didn't fit, or it was the crank lock.
Yeah,
didn't
because
fit.
there's two different crank locks for them. So you got to get the set that's $5 more that has both crank locks.
Well, I know it had both, but they wouldn't fit.
Okay.
Like even,
Oh, well,
in other
you gotta-
words, like
you
the
gotta make it
grooves
fit.
in it, the grooves in the where it
Yeah.
like locks in.
Yep.
It was like it was offset just a little bit, so it would not slide in.
I just diagnose when they're done incorrectly. Ship them to somebody else. Get the tools.
So that's my
That works.
my $60
Do you only do
TDI
diagnostics?
I only do dyno.
Yeah.
I
Really?
I don't do head gaskets or time. My business partner does timing belts. And
Oh, okay.
but we don't do major engine. But
Okay.
I don't do. I don't like it, and not liking it makes me not great at it.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
not passionate about it.
no, I don't want to do water pump. I'm not interested. I don't want to do brakes. Can I do them? Absolutely. And if I have some time to time, I have to do it. Right, they're backed up, and
Yeah.
and I'll knock out a couple of brake jobs and stuff. But my floor on my side of the shop is clean.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Nothing getting
no
dumped
oil
on.
and stuff on my floor. I just have never done it. I've been fortunate enough that I had molded my career to do diagnostics and electrical work.
Yeah.
And that's
The issue, like I have a technician who only wants to do diagnostic work. That's all he's interested in doing. He doesn't care about anything else. Like all he wants to do is diagnostic work, and that's fine. But I told him, I said, it is really difficult. It's not necessarily that you can't charge enough, because in his mind he's like, you're not charging enough. It's not that. It's not that. It's that you have to have a stream of diagnostic work coming in every day, all day long. It is 8 hours I have to have of diagnostic work sitting here. And it doesn't have to be like 8 cars with an hour each. I'm talking about one car with 4 hours, one car with 2 hours, one car with 3 hours, and a car with an hour, right? It just has to be enough that I can pay you your salary just doing diagnostic work. You're just banging out diagnostic work at one after another and then shipping it off to one of the other guys to do the R&R work. That's really hard.
it took me a while to get there.
Yeah.
Right. You know, in my career, I've owned a shop with my dad. I had another shop that I owned with turned out to be a crooked business partner.
Yeah.
But I've always done the diagnostic work. I've always touted myself to do diagnostics.
Yeah.
Talk to people. But there's times when I got to kick in, like I said, to do other stuff, or I'll diagnose something and I'll fix it. You know, it's sensor, but I'm not busted open a timing belt. It's not happening. But I worked very hard to make money diagnosing cars.
Yeah.
I get a good amount of money.
Yeah.
And my feeling is, if you don't want to pay it, it's okay, right? You can go someplace else. So you can take it to somebody, and maybe they'll fix it, and you'll be happy, or maybe they won't. I'm not sure, but I guarantee you I'm going to fix it.
Yeah.
If I can't fix it, which is, you know, everybody's had that. I've had that 1 or 2 cars in your life, but if I don't fix it, you know, that's just my,
For sure.
you know, if I didn't do it.
Yeah.
But my diagnosis for electrical, for drivability, starts at $350. That's what you can expect to pay
Yeah.
for the very first hour and a half of my time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then goes up from there.
And that's entirely reasonable. All right? And we can charge that all day long. But it's I got to have 5 of those cars. You know what I'm saying?
I'm
Like,
fortunate I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I understand what you mean. Not everybody has that.
Yeah. And that's what I've told them. It's like, dude, it's hard enough for me to get cars in the door consistently. I've got to create a whole like marketing campaign, a whole website. I've got to put Google ad dollars and mailers specifically tailored to this. And so it has to have almost an immediate return, and it's really hard. Or we funnel most of the diagnostic work to you. Almost everything gets diagnosed, and then you got to do a water pump and brake job. And he's like, it's fine. He does it. He doesn't like it, but he'll do it. We really try to even like transmissions and stuff like that, just have him not do it. But he got stuck with one the other day.
That sucks. Poor
Yeah.
Brandon.
Poor Brandon.
Thank you for being here, boys.